nationally among senior citizens than Hillary Clinton did in 2016, and also than Democrats in general have been doing for the last couple of decades. Senior citizens have voted Republican since Bush in '04. We've got Biden leading seniors nationally. We've seen this in Florida. What do you think is driving that?
Well, I think there's two things. I mean, first of all, think about why people move to Florida. They come here to retire, often a lifelong dream. It's an active place. It's a place your grandkids can come visit with you and go to the beach every day and play golf. And, when you're in a high-risk category, all of those things all of a sudden come to an end. And so you're confronted daily with the reality of the president's failure to handle this virus effectively. I think that's part one of it. The second part of it is think about, Steve, and you know this, where do people who retire to Florida come from? They come from places like Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. So these are basically just the senior versions of the swing voters in the upper Midwest. And so the same trends you're seeing in places like Pennsylvania, you're going to see among seniors in Florida.
And the other group, too, we talk about in Florida, the Hispanic vote, particularly South Florida, the Cuban-American vote. And I think I've looked at some polls that suggest there's been very significant movement there towards Trump that maybe is offsetting some of the losses he's had among seniors. I've seen other polling that suggests maybe it's not quite that. What's your sense of that? Has there been movement among Hispanic voters in Florida since 2016 toward Trump?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I mean, he took advantage of the power of incumbency, frankly, and was able to really do a lot of outreach in those communities between 2016 and mid-2020. And if you go back over the summer, for example, y'all's poll, I think it was in August, had Trump and Biden pretty much tied among Hispanics. I think you're beginning to see some trend lines moving this back in a more normal way. I don't think the Clinton numbers of 2016 are likely to be repeated anytime soon. But, if Biden can get that number between, say, the Obama 08 and 2012, which is, say, 57 to 60% among Hispanics statewide, given the fact he's doing so much better among older voters and suburban white women, that's more than enough for him to win. But right now, I think that, the polls that show it close do show up because Trump's overperforming among Hispanics.
All right, Steve Shale, we'll be watching Florida closely, and I'm sure talking to you again before Election Day. Thanks for taking a